The clan. Again, not that one. I'm talking about the most common type of family throughout history. Or at least throughout recorded history. The clan. Clans are multi-generational kinship associations that can contain several hundred to the thousands of members in the largest and most loose forms, tribes. And in this episode, we are going to talk about how clans and clan societies function generally. Clans can vary much in how they are structured and passed down. Clans can actually be more than just the descendants of one person, as they often contain intermarriages and alliances between the various lines of descent and various dependencies upon various other types of relationships. And the borders of these relationships can be very fuzzy and not be straightforward at all. Though a clan should be seen as a net of personal relationships that is held together through informal agreements and blood relationships. These are usually highly informal constructions, not usually formalized structures of family, though the nobility that appeared as a concept in Europe during the Middle Ages and later continued is an exception to this rule. In developing strict formalizations about what is included in a family or not when it comes to the various clan families. Nobility as a concept also had formalized types of privilege and the like. But the concept of nobility as it developed in Europe is pretty unique in being so formalized. Now, as for the origin of clans generally across the history of mankind and in all of mankind's various cultures, the clan appears in history due to the ability to feed larger amounts of people and create a surplus of food, which leaves time for socialization of larger groups of people and thus larger family units and contact nets than had previously been possible during the hunter-gatherer stage of humanity, when the immediate need to hunt for food took precedence over creating large social networks, and you were limited to just your closest relatives. And these nets of family contacts were a necessity to form and be a part of in order to defend oneself when there did not exist strong protecting formal structures of institutions that could protect you in pre-modern times. So the rise of the clan is a combination of the newfound ability to actually create larger social nets of family contacts than was previously possible before, together with the fact that there is a lack of security due to the lack of formalized institutions of control and order, and thus people have to rely upon the clan and its informal connections in order to provide security for themselves. As a result of these ever-present factors, clans have been everywhere in human history. As soon as people got the ability to feed larger amounts of people through agriculture after the Neolithic Revolution with the introduction of farming. Most of history has been dominated by families and their informal nets of contacts. Actually, the nobility as a formalized clan with formalized privileges and duties is kind of an exception here, but even then, most noble connections were informal and not formalized. And beneath the nobility of Europe, peasants and normal people also had similar structures of clan families throughout much of European history. And globally, the clan has been and still is outside of the industrial world the main political unit for a lot of societies. When we talk about family lines and dynasties in various societies, both present and in history, we are talking about clans. When we talk about honor, it is usually about the honor of the family, and thus not only about the honor of a specific person, but of a specific clan. And honor is equivalent to the clan's political reputation. The clan, being the main political unit, stands in both theory and much in practice above singular individual persons. Again, it depends upon personal contacts and power inside of the clan how important an individual person is, and these can be very informal and thus be very dependent upon a myriad of factors. But generally, the clan stands above the individual. Because the clan exists in order to further its, and through extension, its members' goal of survival and prosperity, and thus the members of the clan should in turn help the clan prosper. We need to remember that most of human history has been dominated by societies lacking a strong state with strong institutions which can protect individual persons and or limit the power of large families and their contexts. Thus, the only way to avoid getting trampled upon or to expand one's own personal power in the past in many societies was through the clan and the associations that existed within them and between various clans. This is also why nuclear families as a dominant family type only appears in societies with strong states and with strong formalized institutions. And most of the world outside of the modern industrialized world is still clan-based. The reason for the clan, which is the power structure of the great family, is to protect and advantage its members in a dangerous, unstable world where there is no other way to actually have any personal power or protection except through informal contacts, usually connected to your bloodline, but not always. And as a member of a clan in these types of societies, you are expected to back up your close relatives and their associates and aid them to greater power. Just as you will demand that the clan acts in your interest, it will demand the same from you, with associates and close relatives demanding you to act in their interests. You can see this in Roman history and why entire families back one political faction or the other, or in later European history why entire noble families are backing one other family for kingship or for some other political reason. You are supposed to stand up for your family and its associates, even to the detriment often of other duties and obligations. For example, nepotism by illegally helping your clan and its associates to the detriment of others, or the detriment of the centralized authority that exists within the society, is a common form of corruption found in a lot of clan societies, and it's not frowned upon. Instead, it is, or was, even seemed almost as a virtue, because you are helping those closest to you and those that are responsible for your well-being, often to a greater degree than the centralized authority of the state. Because again, weak states have been the norm throughout human history, and these weak states have not been able to either enforce their will against this type of corruption or protect those that don't want a part of it, repression from other clan members or other clans. Which means that there has not been or is not much room for individual will in clan societies, as individual will might stand in opposition to the interests of the clan. This has historically been especially a problematic case when a member of clan family breaks with the clan or does not aid it or have damaged the clan's standing in some way, as there does not exist a strong state to protect the individual. And as a person in a clan structure, you are not only supposed to aid the clan, the net of relationships you are in, and act in its interests, but you are also a representative of the clan and not just yourself. So you breaking with the clan or causing dishonor causes problems for the greater clan, as almost everything in clan societies is based upon various social relationships. And this is why, for example, punishing adultery is so important in many clan-based societies. You see it in the pre-Christian Greco-Roman world, with the lex Julian, with an obligatory punishment of adultery with banishment of the woman that committed it, if the father or husband did not order the death of the woman. You see adultery being punishable in Judaism, which was inherited into Christian later law, and in Islam, and in many, many more examples. It is because it is not just a question about individual persons breaking a relationship, but about a greater political context, where marriages are part of alliances between clans and creating social bonds between clans and between sections within clans. Marriages, as in arranged marriages, are to cement the politics of the clan, and thus personal interests such as personal love risks the greater clan and thus need to be put aside. Marriage is here a part of security for a clan too, as the married off part either becomes kind of a hostage by being included into the other clan, so now you can be safe that you will not get into conflict with that clan since you have married off members of your own clan into that clan. But it also becomes a way to cement relationships between clans or between sections of a clan. A famous example where I think that this is the case is the marriage between Muhammad and Aisha, which is a very complex and controversial subject that I will deal with in a later video. Since clan families are political units based upon close social relationships, be they of blood or through informal agreements, which in turn protect your interests and guarantee yourself security, the majority of the time, clans prefer making marriage connections closer to your clan, to your relatives, rather than further away. Marriage as close as possible to yourself within the clan guarantees a certain level of security, as clans exist in a rather unstable, unsecure environment, as I've been speaking about before. Keeping marriages close within the family keeps resources and keeps the strength and security close at hand within the family. Almost all types of marriage are usually practiced within the clan in order to make the clan not split and to enforce unity and consolidation of resources within the clan, to keep the clan strong. Though here it should be said that monogamy tends to force more outside marriages from the immediate family group, as there will always be clans that have at times an overabundance of women, and if polygamy is not allowed, then the immediate clan cannot absorb them all and will marry outside of itself in order to create new contacts. And there exist arguments that this leads to greater stability due to enlargement of the contact nets and greater alliances between clan groups, creating peace and preventing inter-clan violence to a greater degree. Speaking about inter-clan conflicts, the existence of clan structures in a society is also why intergenerational conflicts are so common throughout history, because it was not about singular persons, but about the future of the greater clan and their claims. Since the real person of a clan cannot be separated from his own clan, he shares in the debts and responsibilities and conflicts of the clan. Collective punishments and attacks on entire families makes sense in these types of societies where everybody is bound from various informal agreements and through blood relationships to each other in large political family groups. Clans being the center of society throughout much of history is also why honor culture is so common throughout history. With honor culture, I mean the need to answer to insults, affronts and threats to the clan's reputation, even if it would not be advantageous to the individual person to do so. You need to preserve the face of your clan and its associates and keep their honor clean. Not doing it risks weakening the clan or making it appear weak, and risks resulting in the clan's destruction, as a weak group in a context of weak formal protective systems will be victimized by groups with stronger informal nets and cohesion and greater reputation that people can ally around. This of course also means that conflicts due to perceived slights are much more common in clan societies than in societies based more upon the concept of modern Western individuality. But as a person living in such a society, you are expected, through cultural norms, to defend your honor and through extension the honor of your clan. Though we might see duels to decide matters of honor as a primitive way of resolving conflicts, they have historically been important methods to avoid greater clan warfare between clan groups in most societies by limiting the conflict to individual persons dueling for honor. Clan structures in a society does not only mean duels though, but affects a lot of things in a society. For example, in a social context of clans, agreements in these sorts of societies are often intergenerational. With, for example, serfdom, where you have peasants through several generations working on a land due to an agreement made by their forefathers with another family or institution that owned or controlled the land. In the Middle East, historically, you have had systems with mosques that allow certain families access to use the land that belongs to the mosque congregation. And the rules regarding these things have actually been surprisingly standardized and formalized. And formalization like this is actually rather rare in most clan societies, as most agreements are rather informal. But this and the concept of nobility in Europe with formalized privileges and recognition of a family's rights and duties are exceptions to this. Speaking about formalization, clan societies also create certain types of laws as well, where the focus is not the individual and his rights or individual justice, but mitigating conflict between clan families. And it is the extended family that stands as the party of interest, not the individual. You see this in that many clan societies have laws regarding blood money paid by the killers to relatives instead of vengeance or punishment by the justice system always being the only option. This is due to the fact that mitigating conflict between clan families is prioritized above individuals getting justice. The decisions of the families stand above the individual's justice in these sorts of societies. Despite clan societies being very anti-individualistic in many regards, as the individual does not really exist as we imagine it, personal power and charisma are usually much more important in clan societies than in more formalized systems, as the power of personal relationships and connections are what is important and not formalized institutions of power. Connections being so important is also why older people, but not always, tend to be the leaders in clan societies, as they have the most blood relationships with others downward, the most offspring, and have networked and created more personal alliances and agreements through sheer experience and time. Again though, it should be known that clan structures are very informal and very variable depending upon cultural contexts, and control of clans can be very shifting. Younger people can sometimes also be more powerful due to various reasons, but generally old people rule in clan societies, and old people are thus venerated in these societies due to this. Due to clan societies often being very unsafe societies generally, as that is the reason for the existence of the clan, they tend to favor physical prowess, and thus most clan societies have been male-dominated, though not all. But there is generally a trend towards gerontocratic patriarchy, ruled by older men, with the Latin concept of patria potestas, the supreme authority of life and death the oldest father had over the family in Rome, as an example. That might be among the most extreme cases of this trend. Though I have in this video just spoken about generalities related to clan structures, and not gone into many specific cases of these structures. But this video was meant more as an overview that was a little bit more of an in-depth look into clans, as I had previously discussed clans briefly in my video about the types of families throughout history. But my viewers, what are your comments or questions about clan structures throughout history? I would love to see them. Please do subscribe, as it would help the channel spread awareness about the humanities.
اشتركوا بالقناة نفضلكم.